Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and these are your questions answered this week. So every week I let you guys ask me questions, and the following week I answer your questions. This week we actually had a ton of questions. I have a ton of books as well to show, so it's going to be maybe a long one, but there's lots of great stuff, so definitely you want to watch it all. The first question comes from my good friend Steppo, Steppo5 or Collecto6, or Stephen Gentner by his other alias. Hi, Alan. Was there a packager for the comic series and art for Nedor Standard? Or did they produce art and stories in-house? When did Standard Nedor Better publication start and publication? Who was Ned Pines? Thank you. Well, Nedor and Standard and Better, which is all the same company really, they used Sanger Studio for their packager, and it was run by Benjamin Sanger. Now, the interesting thing is Ned Pines, his name is Noah Lewis, but he was just called Ned. Pines, he was born in December 10th, 1905, and died in 1990. And he was basically an American publisher, produced pulp magazines originally, and he started back in 1928, and he basically ran his company until 1971. Now, Standard Nedor and all those ones, they only ran from 1936 to 1956. But his Standard imprint company was basically the one that produced all these other publishing arms, which were the comic ones that got killed during the Comic Code Authority era. So that's kind of his story. But interesting fact about him was his daughter, his wife actually, was the daughter of Benjamin Sanger, who was his packager. So Jocelyn Sanger was his wife, and so that's kind of an interesting little tie-in between him and his packager. So hope that was interesting for you. I like what I buy. Wrote, "Good morning, Alan. Great info as usual. For next week, can you show some Bruce Timm books in your collection that feature good girl art? Comic and art books, please." Okay, so I'm going to actually show you a bunch of Bruce Timm comics, and I was looking, I should say, I have like a bunch of Bruce Timm comics that feature good girl art. Like, he did some Wonder Woman stuff, he did some Spider-Man stuff. I cannot find them. I've looked everywhere. I gotta resort out some of my slabs and some of my comics because I can't find my Wonder Woman Bruce Timm ones. And I had a bunch, which is kind of frustrating. So I did find, though, in the process of looking for those, a series that Bruce Timm did that is quite popular, actually. It's Batman Beyond. I know these aren't good girl art. I'll get into the good girl art, so don't worry. but yeah, Bruce Timm, Batman Beyond. So, that's the first one. Number 1, 2, 3. And then it becomes Darwin Cook. So, we get Darwin Cook. And who kind of had that similar style to Bruce Timm. Okay. But he also did, now this is where we get into the good girl art. He also did, and I'm not sure if this, I'm pretty sure this is Bruce Timm. It's kind of Bruce Timm style. It's either Penny or Bruce Timm. This is Batman Adventures. Looks like Bruce Timm. So yeah, so this is Mad Love. And we got another Bruce Timm, Batman Adventures. This is like an homage to Batman Adventures 12. It's kind of a fun modernized version of it. And then got some more Batman Adventures. This is the original series, number 1. And a really cool title that is really under the radar. It's called Heartthrobs, and this features Bruce Timm's artwork as well. Some good girl, kind of romance style, good girl art. His artwork is not in the inside, just on the cover. And then I have several art comics. This one's kind of funny. This is one of my favorite Bruce Timm covers. I just think it's crazy. It's got this crazy bondage jungle girl and this Nazi with a swastika branding iron. So just almost, it has a lot of that classic golden age elements, plus, you know, Bruce Timm's style on the art. Her portions are a little weird, but still I think it's a very cute cover. And then I have the Bruce Timm art books. Now there's actually two, and they're quite expensive. Like the Big T's, this is the cheaper of the two. This is Bruce Timm, and the artwork inside is mostly nudes. But I can show you a couple. Well, actually, I was going to show you, and then I was like, oh, that's nude. Yeah, it's mostly nudes. Yeah, sorry, I can't show it. Oh well, but here's the back. So yeah, Bruce Timm, and these were produced by Flesk. So that's the Big T's, and the other one, which is even rarer and more expensive, is Naughty and Nice. This is a pretty great book, actually. Got some sexy good girl art on the back as well, and it's like again, mostly nudes, but you get some like sexy ones inside that are not nudes. So you see some of the stuff inside. It's quite good. It's a pretty good book. It's really, I think this goes for like 500 plus in first print. Very hard to find, but very cool book. Hope you enjoyed that one. So that's some of my Bruce Timm collection. I actually have a fairly extensive Bruce Timm collection, which I cannot find. So those were the ones I did find. I actually was searching quite thoroughly and not having much luck. So it was kind of frustrating. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed at least the ones I was able to find. Next question comes from Starchild, who wrote, "Hi Alan, do you collect and enjoy Jack Kirby DC Fourth Wall comics? I'm a big fan of New Gods, Forever People, Mr. Miracle, as well as Omek, Kamandi, and Sandman books. They are great to read." Yes, I agree. So I actually brought one of the series that I did read full was Mr. Miracle. So here I brought my Mr. Miracle #1 and Mr. Miracle #2. This is a really great series. You know, it wasn't quite what I expected. I was expecting something very different, but this is quite interesting. You know, he's kind of like an escape artist, and at the same time has this the mother box that kind of is mysterious, and they kind of build up to it. It's quite interesting. It starts very humble beginnings and kind of builds up. So it's very, very well done. Also read Sandman as well. You know, I was the way I got into it is so messed up, actually. So what happened was, back in the 90s, I was collecting Sandman, and I heard, oh, there's an earlier version of Sandman. So I was like, oh, okay, what's the earlier version? And I found Jack Kirby's Sandman, and then, which wasn't actually the first Sandman, but that was kind of how I got into finding out about these Jack Kirby books. So it's a kind of a weird connection, but so I figured, hey, I'll show you some of the Mr. Miracles, and I do like his fourth world books. And also I have Forever People as well, which is the first appearance of Darkseid. So next one is Raleigh, comic book collector. Great books as usual. You shared several restored books today. What are your considerations when determining if you will require a Silver Age restored book? Color touch is okay, trim edges is not. So for me, it's more about price, really. If all all things considered. Often the restored books that I buy are books that would be out of my price range if not restored. So generally I use restoration as a way to get a cool book without paying for the cool book's price. A good example of that is my Tales of Suspense 39, or my A Journey into Mystery 83. Those are books that would be tens of thousands of dollars. When you buy them restored, there's less. Instead of 10,000 per point, or $10,000 plus, it's more like 5,000 or thousands per per point. So it's a much cheaper way of buying those books. I don't really like. I know a lot of people really hate trimmed books, but personally, I don't really see it as that egregious, I guess. The funny thing is my my Tales of Suspense, the trimming on it, it does have trimming, but it's like the lamest trimming ever. It's like just one corner was trimmed. It's like, and that became a restored book. So really stupid things like that. So sometimes I do look at what the restoration is and basically judge whether or not it's really that egregious that I wouldn't want the book. I have more of annoyance when it becomes a very Frankenstein book where you get like new covers, married stuff, basically things put together to make this a new book, where that bothers me to a certain extent, but not really that much. I'm actually pretty chill about restoration. I'm more about wanting to get the cool book. And I see restoration as really just a way of getting a good price on a book. Now, there are books that I wouldn't buy in the Silver Age restored that are just affordable. Like if you can buy a book at an affordable price in Blue Label, why not buy it in a Blue Label? Why buy it restored when really you can get it in a reasonable price for Blue Label? So it's really with those bigger books that I would consider restoration. Okay, Comic Mag Musings asked, another question for you, Owl Hen. When I think of talented yet underrated Golden Age artists, names like Warren Kremer and Bob Lubbers come to mind. Which artists do you think of, and would you please show some books featuring their work? Okay, I'm just going to show one, actually, but it's a good one. I'm just going to show you a couple books from this one artist, and he's an artist that I think is underrated, and probably not one that most people would even know. Whenever we think of Golden Age artists, actually Rob Lubbers, I feel like people would know. If you collect Fiction House, a lot of people would know Rob Lubbers. You think of people like, Matt Baker and Alex Schomburg, L.B. Cole, those bigger named artists people know. But this is an artist that I think is very underrated, but has actually expensive books because actually their artwork kind of appeals to people. Here's the first one. This is Terror Unknown Worlds #1. Sorry, I keep on wanting to read all of the things. It's Unknown Worlds #1 by Norman Saunders. And this is his art style. He does these kind of painted covers. It almost looks real, the way he does his artwork. So it almost looks like somebody took a photo and, it's almost like a photo cover when it in fact is a painted cover. So I kind of like his style. And it's all usually Good Girl as well. So this is an example. His more famous cover that actually commands big money is this one. This is Worlds of Fear, #10. And it's just a crazy cover. It's like got all these eyeballs, and again, it has almost that photorealism to it. At the same time, very creepy. Like, you can see into the guy's head and all the floating eyeballs around him. Just a cool cover, very underrated artist. I think this is just a really cool art style, and from an artist that I think is maybe not one that you hear the name of as much as some of the other ones for the Golden Age. So yeah, definitely one that you might want to check out. I think you actually have done a video where you showed that book in your top horror comics covers of all time. I'm pretty sure. So maybe if you're a viewer of this channel, go over to Comic Meg Musings channel, and he does these top 100 lists where basically he shows top crime. He's doing that one currently, and he did top horror covers of all time. And I think that book actually made his list. So definitely check his videos out. Okay, Matt Blogs wrote, and I feel bad about this. This is one where I feel a little bit like I messed up last week. So I'll explain. I think you misunderstood my question, Alan. I meant the anthology books before superheroes joined. The whole point being these titles didn't get attention until they became superhero books. Out of these issues, you showed only issues that would qualify would be Groot issue and possibly the Hank Pym issue. Yes, so I messed up. So I was like, I don't know why. Sometimes you think the wrong way, and then, but let me get into showing you some monster books before they became superhero books. The first one, and you can actually see how much I paid for it because I'm lazy to remove the price tag. So I paid $70 Canadian for this book. This is actually the Tales of Suspense before Iron Man. So this is Tales of Suspense number 35. And this is actually the first appearance of the prototype, or it's the prototype of the Watcher. But it is a monster book, or kind of like weird adventures or something like that kind of style. Another title that had interesting characters associated with it is Strange Tales, which in 110 becomes Doctor Strange's title. And this is Strange Tales, and it's like Grotto. So Grotto. So yeah, typical alien or monster or ant, king of the insects. So yeah. And the weird thing is, yeah, it's an ant. So yeah, king of the insects. So then we got another famous one. I actually spent a lot on this one. You can see that's Canadian, by the way. So we got the first appearance of Fing Fang Foom. This is Strange Tales number 89. It's a great monster cover and great monster. So yeah, so I figured I'd show that one at least. And one more monster book, and this is Strange Tales number 90, and this is Orgo. So I don't know why they like the double letters, like the. So this is in that kind of vein. But you got these weird monsters. So yeah. Hopefully that makes up for messing up last week. I hope you enjoyed those ones. I really do try. So next question comes from K. Munin. A major thanks this week. Your knowledge and recommendations have really helped my collection grow. Oh no, that's maybe not a good thing. Exponentially. Funny enough, my Zombie Tramp comics showed up a while as I was watching this video, and issue 58, the first printing risque version, was actually part of my order. In your opinion, are Simon Mayer cover variants of Vampirella issue 57 worth buying? Are there any other Action Lab titles you would recommend? As always, your advice is very much appreciated. Okay, so for me, like Zombie Tramp is one of those things I'm not like specking on or like going after because, oh, it's going to be super valuable someday. I collect it because I like it. So Simon Mayer's, if you like the art style, buy it. If you don't like the art style, don't buy it, is kind of my opinion on it. You know, it's really personal preference. I collect them all because I'm a completist. Some covers I like more than others. I do like Dan Mendoza, so I generally go for his books over other books within the Zombie Tramp series. But if you like the Simon Myers, go for it. You know, it's I don't think at the end of the day it's going to make that much difference because it's not like a title where, except for the first few issues, there's most of them are kind of not that expensive. So yeah, it's really up to you on that one. But I'm going to show you some other Action Lab books that you can kind of consider. One is Dollface, and this is just the holiday special. This is not, there's actually ones of these that are done by, again, Dan Mendoza. This is kind of a similar series to, he was pretty active at Action Labs until there were disputes. But this is just another kind of quirky character. So Dollface. The next one is one sec here. I don't know why these are all out of order. Is Vamp Blade. You can see this is like I think this is Simon Beasley. I'm pretty sure. But it's a pretty cool series. And it's basically in Action Labs as well. They actually had a crossover between Vamp Blade and Zombie Tramp as well. So, that's always fun. This is like the Halloween Comic Fest special issue. So this is like a reprint, I guess, of it. But I also have the original crossover. So here's the original. And then another one that you might want to consider is Danger Doll Squad, where he brings all the characters together. You got the Dollface, Zombie Tramp, and Witchblade. So if you want to put them all together, that's the title. And yeah, this is another variant of that style. So yeah, of that book. So yeah, so those are some of the titles. I generally go for the Good Girl art titles. There are others within Action Labs, but like there's another one, I think it's called Faith, or it's like some pudgy girl, I forgot her name, or Rose, Black Rose, I think it is, maybe Black Rose, which is so-so. I kind of like more of the sexy girls. So yeah, so those are the ones I would go after. Hope you like those titles. They're not expensive, usually around cover price. So again, this is not about collecting in terms of speculation, in terms of these are going to become super valuable. They're more just, do you like the sexy girls in the in the comics? So yeah, so I hope you enjoy those ones. That's the first page. We actually have 2 pages of questions here today. So the next question comes from Lyle Hobson, and he wrote, I have a question for you, Alan. Was the character Winnie the Witch, Ghost Manor 13, July 1970, Charlton's comics, her first appearance, and the other character with the same name that appeared in 1948? Can you shed more light on this, please? Okay, so so the question is basically there are 2 characters, okay, with the same name. One was the one that appeared in Ghost Manor number 13 from 1970, which is basically the narrator for Ghost Manor. Like sort of, it's a character, kind of a sexy girl actually. So I picked that up because I thought, hey, this is kind of a cool character. Who becomes the narrator for Ghost Manor. Okay, so just another one of these narrator characters. She's a separate character from Winnie, who appeared in 1948 in the title called Beano. It was a DC Thompson creation, and basically that character was Winnie the Witch as well. But it's a character that's kind of a goofy witch that kind of is kind of an apprentice witch or amateur witch that just basically kind of awkward and clumsy. Then later she goes into the title called Sparky, and she stays in that title from 1965 to 1967. But they're two different characters. The one from Beano and the one from Charlton are two separate characters, or Ghost Manor, two separate characters. Just not related, just happens to have the same name. Hopefully that helps. Latour wrote, interested in your thoughts on Fiction House reprints and news stories done by Antarctic Press. Any idea whether they bought the rights for those IPs or some of them are public domain? I think it's public domain, based on the fact that I was trying to find out whether or not on their on their site. I actually went to Antarctic Press's website where you can buy all these books, and they didn't really divulge whether or not they had bought the rights or they just printed it, because the IP had long lapsed on those books, and those companies, fiction houses, no longer anyways. So they basically had the ability to print it without really much worrying about copyright. So I'm going to show you some of these books. I actually have a pretty good collection of those Antarctic Press titles that also were Fiction House titles. So the first one is Jungle Comics. This is Jungle Comics number 15. Just a random issue, but is Jungle Comics. I actually have a pretty good collection of these Antarctic Press Jungle Comics. Another title that they had was Exciting Comics. And these are new stories, like not reprints, with new characters as well. And Exciting Comics is actually from, I think, Standard Nedor, actually, the title. And then we have Planet Comics again, some more Planet Comics. This is Planet Comics number 1. Planet Comics number 2. Actually, I'll flip that. So hopefully, some of these have really great covers. Like this one I really like, number 5. And I think I might be missing a couple issues, or they're not organized properly. It's number 6, number 7. And these are very different than the Fiction House Planet Comics, so, but they are in that idea, same idea, I guess. Number 9. This is like the homage to Plan 9 from Outer Space. So this is Planet Comics 9 from Outer Space. It's kind of funny. And we got number 10. From the cover. Number 11. And 13. So that's my Antarctic Press collection of comics related to Fiction House. I hope you enjoyed that. So, yeah. So those are the ones that I have. And yeah, from what I can tell, I think they just went ahead with printing it regardless of having copyright or not. So yeah. So the next question comes from Matt Ankinson. Do you consider an All-American at War 81 or 83 the first appearance of Sergeant Rock? Now this is a complicated question. Now this actually how many books did I read? I actually read 5 comics in order to answer this one question. So we got to go back to 1955 actually. So there's a story in All-American Men of War number 28 from 1955, which is got a kind of a prototype for Sergeant Rock. Okay, same idea, not named or anything like that, but same idea. So that's kind of a prototype from 1955. Then in 1959 you got GI Combat number 68, where they actually have a character called The Rock. Okay, and basically he's a fighter, and he basically is a boxer, and he doesn't go down. He's like, he'll fight to the end. Even though he gets knocked down, he stands up and keeps on fighting. Well, when he goes to war, he kind of fights the same way. And they, like he's kind of the Rock. And he goes up against the Germans. And even though they bash him down, he gets back up and keeps on fighting. And that's 1959. And he's actually called the Rock. He's not Sergeant Rock, though. So it's not quite there. And some actual sites denote that GI Combat 68 is the first appearance of Sergeant Rock. And I think they actually retconned that story as part of the origin of Sergeant Rock. So there's that. But then we get into All-American Men of War number 81, 82, and 88. Okay, so here's the way it works. Now, in 81, you get a sergeant that is called the Rock of Easy Company. Okay, he's not called Sergeant Rock. He's not. His name isn't Rock. It's just he is called the Rock of. And it's because he's such a demanding sergeant. He kind of pushes his men. He fights beyond, no matter what kind of thing. And he's just a really cool sergeant, and looks like Sergeant Rock. Okay, so it kind of is him, kind of, but he's not called. He's called the Rock of, rather than that being his real name. It's sort of weird. In 82. We get a sort of slightly more developed version of that character, but he's just a cameo, and they refer to him as Sergeant. Okay, and you see him on one panel, and then they kind of refer to him throughout, but they don't show him. It's kind of weird. And number 83, it's all about Sergeant Rock. It's really about Sergeant Rock. He's called Sergeant Rock. The whole story is about Sergeant Rock. It's about Easy Company. It's, shows his whole story. It's every panel is almost about him. It's really about Sergeant Rock. So it's like a full appearance of Sergeant Rock. So the question is, which of these would I consider the first appearance? I have no idea. I really don't. I don't want to. But the way I would go is I would go by 83. And the only reason I'd go by 83 is that is the one the market has decided is his first appearance. And it is the best story involving that character, where he's really kind of fully fleshed out. Actually, GI Combat 68 is a pretty great Rock story, but he's not Sergeant Rock, which is kind of the point. But so there's a lot of things there. So if you can, buy all of them. The reason I mentioned 88, by the way, is that's the first time you get Sergeant Rock exclusive stories, where it's all about Sergeant Rock, and he carries the title from then. So I hope that answers the question. It's one of those hard ones to answer because there's so many places. It's not really, you can see that it's more of an evolution of a character rather than like they said, oh, we're going to put a new character called Sergeant Rock right now. It was more like he kind of evolved through the comics rather than actually was planned out maybe a little bit more. So just hope that answers the question. I don't know. It was it was a lot of reading just to answer this one question, but I hope you enjoyed it. And that's it for this week. If you have a question that you want to ask me, put it in the comments below. Don't make me read too many comics, but it's always fun to read comics. So I hope you enjoyed these answers to these questions, and thanks again for watching. Bye for now.